Um, Hello, I'm Stephanie Lee. I'm representing the Office of Human Resources based in New York. We're a practice that focuses on utopian labor practices. We're really excited to be here with so many ideas that have a lot of overlap. So the project is based on the idea of commons, defined here by political economist Elinor Ostrom. The definition being things existing in associations of regulated use by groups of human actors, such as collectives, networks, and communities. This ongoing research project highlights this possibility of co-ownership in industrial farming and renounces current global industries that thrive on the extraction of labor, capital, and lands of others. So aggressive agriculture, land development in the global south has often left entire continents displaced and marginalized from the global economy. This is a map showing how colonial tropes are still prevalent in Africa, where over 100 million acres are under foreign land lease for the next 99 years. While famine still remains a fatal issue of the continent, its farmland is being altered to feed the rest of the world. So the site of this project is situated in Kenya, specifically the surrounding area of Lake Naivasha. It's a rural area that has a historically fascinating wildlife and lake ecology, which was also the inspiration for Disney's Lion King. However, it has seen a surge in greenhouses since the 70s. Sectioned off by large territories of greenhouse colonies, 90% of these function as flower operations by Dutch and Indian flower companies. So cheaper operation costs have moved foreign companies to occupy the lake, creating a horticultural hot zone. But pesticides used to expedite flower growth is threatening the health of the lake, which is a major freshwater source for the area. It takes us back to this idea of the gap between how we as Western consumers relate to extractive economies. More specifically, 30% of these cut flower bouquets of Europe are produced in this region. In this sense, flower becomes capitalist commodities that temporarily fill up the domestic space until it dries out. As it pertains to work, large-scale horticultural production shifted the local farm labor into a factory setting, as shown in this very famous Bertinsky photo, to a flower packing plant. Change in labor force within industrial agriculture is parallel to how we focus on changing notions of rurality and landscape through farmland irrigation at the industrial scale. And so what is the future of this environment? And how will we be able to respond to new farm labor as they adapt to smart farming or AI technology? And could this aid a farmer-owned cooperative system that is autonomous from foreign companies? The current production process of these flower farms is extensive, from growth to packaging, all the way to delivery to foreign lands, simultaneously being auctioned off in 24-hour Dutch auction houses in Aalsmeer or Westland. We're interested in this multiplicity. This is an example of animal survival instinct that was found during a flood. It's a display of parasitic and symbiotic relationships. Similarly, the project focuses on creating a network based on existing systems instead of creating new ones. As architects, we take on both spatial and social aspects within the site. We utilize existing greenhouse structures as a grid within itself, which can host a variety of prototypes for flower production. On the farm scale, the production process was dissected to map out and collect elements of cut flower production. To define the necessary elements needed to create a smallholder farm that can self-regulate and bring this global industry into the local economy. Much of this is based on previous field research, where we looked at other successful greenhouse communities that currently operate on a smaller scale. There's a town in Iceland that has a unique local economy of greenhouse farms powered by geothermal energy, basically making it a zero energy run village. While supplying much of the produce on the island, it also engages with tourism, such as this restaurant that is situated inside the greenhouse where the production facility functions as a selling point. The process of production becomes a spectacle even more condensed than a farm-to-table experience. So here you can see the deployed modular units that make up the farm operation, from incubation to growth, packaging, and dispatch. The process of production and labor is in open rooms across the field of greenhouse structures. Interior images such as this focus on the tension and overlap of tourist programs, such as this elevated walkway and agricultural space. Flower waste then becomes upcycled here to produce packaging material. We are working with an existing farm called Aquila Farms. We're taking inspiration from them and imagining their actual numbers of selling points to see how they would operate as a cooperative. In the regional scale, we have attempted to map out existing stakeholders on the site, 4 territories being global, local, rural, industrial, ecology. Sometimes they might be thought of as in the spectrum of binary, but we are mapping out, auction halls, the floriculture industry and safari, and then as well as lake tourism to see how they might all play in together as a larger connective system. This drawing is loosely based on a model of social farming, and I won't go too detailed into all this resulting diagram, but we produce a series of relationships that support a collection of smallholder farms that operate on its own, and which can then grow into a regional cooperative entity. A network that can connect the rest of the territory and the industry for a cooperative that is autonomous and commercially viable. So each production process are erected as functional monuments, where the auction doubles as an observation tower for the safari, for instance, or a rural street stop also becomes a deployment station for the cut flower goods that run on a tight base life. In this case, a local flower market acts as a bus station, while the lakeside emergent swamps are protected by floating rafts, which cultivate fish breeding zones. I think within a speculative practice, representation becomes crucial in this kind of thinking. So we adopted traditions from Asian scroll drawings to represent perspectives in varying scales to express a non-linear narrative. I think distortive illustrative drawings work to offer a non-absolute vision of architecture, offering not one-off solutions, but various possibilities of application. Thank you.